Welcome back. As always, it is your host, Arachnid Soul, coming to you today with something a little bit different. This is political. If you can't handle politics, go watch something else. Big news this week. The United States has finally decided that it's pulling out of Afghanistan. It was a decision made by sitting President Joseph Biden, aka Joseph Biden, and it was the best move of his presidency. There has been no secret on my part. I really disdain Joe Biden. I disdain him as much as I disdain Donald Trump. Both of them war criminals. Both of them accused by numerous women of sexual harassment or just out-and-out sexual assault. Both of them a history of racism. Both of them some moneyed conflict interests while they sat in the White House and even when they were outside of the White House. With that said, Joe Biden has made the right call this month. It is long past time that we remove all of our military personnel from Afghanistan. It's interesting that in a world where Joe Biden would say something horrible like, we don't have the money to pay for universal health care, single payer in the United States. We don't have the money to give everyone a living wage. We don't have the money to make sure that everyone has the same access to free college at public universities. When it comes to war, blank check, and the media goes right along with it. In fact, the media, at odds with Joe Biden, may be the first time in his presidency, because you have to understand the same banks, the same large corporations, the same multinational donors that control the news media and own the news media also control the politicians. It's the right hand and the left hand to manipulate people into believing certain policies that make as much money as possible for the oligarchs at the top. Different story for a different day. Point being, usually the media and establishment politicians, that is, politicians who are funded by these big corporations and do not refuse them or super PAC money, and are not funded solely by the public, usually link up, usually have the same mindset because they're working for the same master. With that said, Joe Biden having a press conference, being very cognizant, being very right about the fact that we have been in Afghanistan now almost 20 years. Almost 20 years. It was a war on terror. If you remember after 9/11, we went into Afghanistan, we went into Iraq. The American people were confused because a lot of the American people did not know what was going on. So people over here were told Saddam Hussein, aka Osama bin Laden. The Taliban, aka ISIS, aka Al-Qaeda, Sunni, aka Shia. These are all different things. These are all different groups of people. Not all of these groups were involved with 9/11. The United States wanted to go over there for resources even before 9/11. We went over there. A lot of people died. We heard all sorts of reasons to go over there. 9/11 happened. These people did it. We got to go over there and get Osama bin Laden. We got bin Laden 10 years ago. The Navy SEALs with a PlayStation controller picked that man off 10 years ago. And for 10 more years, we stayed over there. Were we nation building? Was it because they hated us for our freedom? Was it because if we didn't fight them over there, we'd fight them over here? The United States, the media, the politicians, always moving the goalposts. At the same time, the United States people were catching on to it. As Joe Biden pulls the troops out of Afghanistan, most of the American people are with him. In polling, most people are with him. They've even polled people and said, well, if the Taliban takes control again of the country, do you still think it's a good idea that the United States pulled out? Most people still say yes. Joe Biden in press conferences, being very articulate, being very well spoken, again impressing me because I never like anything this guy does. But he said, we've been in Afghanistan 20 years. It's been expensive, it's cost us lots of lives, and there'd be no difference if we got out now or got out 5 years ago. There would have been no difference if we got out sooner. And Joe Biden had the balls to actually pull the troops out. Now they're saying to Joe Biden, what a failure it was in getting the troops out. Because ISIS-K at Kabul airport sent in a suicide bomber. The reports are that there was 13 Americans killed and also 90 people who were not Americans. So ISIS-K is kind of like it's the spin-off of ISIS, really. It is the Cleveland show to ISIS's Family Guy. I think it's Pakistan and Afghanistan's version of ISIS. And we're not going to get into ISIS and all of that other stuff right now. But the United States under Donald Trump, another thing that nobody's mentioning in the media, and again, I give credit where credit's due. I give credit to Biden for doing it. It was under Donald Trump that a lot of this cooperation was set up a year ago between the United States and the Taliban to remove the United States military from that country. Was it ever going to go perfect? No. And especially since the United States had a deal with the Taliban, and ISIS is sitting there like, you know what, we still don't like either of you guys, and we're going to blow this thing up. Side story that you will not hear reported in the media. Please don't take my word for it. Please go look it up. After ISIS-K at Kabul airport executed that suicide bombing and killed some Americans, Joe Biden responded by killing 10 children over there. So Joe Biden does one good thing and then something horrible. Meanwhile, the news media is calling for Joe Biden to step down as president. #impeach Biden, because he did the right thing and got the United States out of Afghanistan, yet they have no problem with him being a war criminal, killing children. Even this week, no calls for anything. So that's where the corporate news media is. The good news is there's many people over decades who went over there, part of the military, sacrificed their lives, their mental states, some of them alive but permanently physically maimed. They did everything that was asked of them, and I think it's great that they get to come home now and be with their friends and families. There's many quote-unquote gold star families in this country who weren't sure. Is dad coming home? Is mom coming home? We've already lost someone. Are we going to lose someone else? They're coming home right now. And obviously, when you take an entire country full of your troops and remove them, things are going to be shaky. Joe Biden has also been criticized for the horrible pullout, the withdrawal, cutting and ducking and running. We had to get out. To be honest with you, I am absolutely amazed at the evacuation. The Taliban decided, you know what? The thing that we want is the United States out of the country. We have no interest in these people staying here, and we have no interest in them coming back. So we're going to let them go. We have a contract with them. We're not going to attack any people on the way out. And what an amazing evacuation that was. In less than a month, the United States removing, very close to every person that we sent over there. And this is the part where it gets a little funny, and I don't mean funny haha, I mean funny ironically. The United States went over there to fight a quote-unquote war on terrorism. A war on terror, like the war on drugs. We have a war on an ideology. It'd be like fighting a war on imagination. And we took a lot of weapons, and we took a lot of vehicles, choppers, tanks, Humvees, all sorts of guns, smaller choppers, bigger guns, smaller guns. But it's not quite as easy to evacuate as many people, and it's even harder to evacuate all of those tools of war that the American taxpayers have paid for and now left in the hands. And that is the sad reality of what the United States has done before. It's maybe a truth that the United States will carry out in the future. Joe Biden making a tough call. There was no way that he was going to do this and it was going to go flawlessly, and I think this is as close as he could have come. Yes, the United States should have stayed out of the war. Yes, we should have never gone over there. Yes, it was always bullshit. You were always lied to. It was never about your safety. When we talk about Osama bin Laden, when we talk about 9/11, tapes have come out, and bin Laden said his whole goal on 9/11 was to destroy the United States and world economy, and to some degree he did. But at the same time, there was a human toll. Almost 3,000 people died. And as a response, we sent 3,000 people to death in Afghanistan. Imagine all of those families, all of those kids, all of those spouses, all of those brothers and sisters growing up and living a life knowing that their family member died, and died for a very unspecific reason. And there was never any exit strategy. Will there be fallout from this? There obviously will be. But you have to understand, we can't stay over there forever. We would stay over there another 10 years and do nothing. This was an occupation in a foreign country. Imagine if you're listening to this, if you're in Canada, if you're in England, if you're in the United States, wherever you are, imagine that tomorrow ISIS or some other group came to the United States, occupied your streets, waged war in your cities, and stayed there for 20 years. And as a result, it changed your entire way of life. As a result, you were always fearful. As a result, you were a small child growing up. This is the only world you know. You have permanent post-traumatic stress disorder, just like many people in the military. You would be upset about it as well. And you would get to a point where you would just feel, we just want these people out of our country. That is Afghanistan. Is it sad to think that Afghanistan will now be in the hands of the Taliban? Absolutely. The Taliban saying that they're reformed Taliban. They're going to continue to let people smoke and women go to schools. It's not going to be good. Joe Biden stepping up. Joe Biden making the best move of his presidency, removing the troops from Afghanistan. It would be nice to see us remove troops from other countries. At the same time, it would be nice if Joe Biden didn't do things like try to ramp up war with North Korea or Cuba, or try to continue the regime change war in Venezuela. And I'm sure there's people starving down there, and that's horrible. But the United States cannot intervene everywhere in the world, and I think the bigger problem down there, and we'll get back to Afghanistan, but in Venezuela, for years, something like 93% of their economy was based on oil. So what did the United States do with a country that we call a socialist country, with a country that doesn't want to play oil ball? We tried to take out the brown guy, put the white guy in, because our white guy is going to play oil ball with us. And at the same time, we badmouth them to the whole world. We talk about how the government's starving their own people. We go to England, we say freeze the assets that were meant to go to the winner of that election. And even 3 years on, we do not recognize the president that was elected there. Even if there were crooked things that happened, we still recognize our guy, a guy who was never elected in that country, who has no power in Venezuela. So I hope that the same mind that Joe Biden has, that seems to be very clear and very focused in realizing that Afghanistan was a horrible idea, also realizes that about Venezuela. The United States is finally out of Afghanistan. There was no goalpost for us winning over there. There was no reason for us staying over there. Many of the war profiteers who control the corporate news media are upset with Joe Biden right now. Joe Biden did the right thing, and I'm happy to say that because it's the first time I've got to say it during his presidency, and who knows when we'll get to say it again. He could do some more great things. Let's rifle them off. Single-payer health care, a living wage, free college tuition, a ban on fracking, a ban on oil drilling, bring troops home from countries all around the world. There's a number of things. Instating an actual Green New Deal, not a bullshit one. Bring about policies so the United States could import cheaper prescription drugs from countries that we trust, like Canada. Legalizing cannabis, deschedulizing it because it's destroying many communities, especially communities of color. These are all things that we could talk about Joe Biden doing. Joe Biden, still not a great guy. Joe Biden, still a horrible guy, again, just like Trump. Both guys paid by the same people. We will get back to this. Please let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Don't fight, keep it lighthearted. Like I said, the Republican and Democratic establishment, it's one large party that pretends to be two. That is literally one, paid by the same corporations, banks, oligarchs, large donors, to screw us over and to keep us fighting so we don't realize that it's one team funneling money to the super rich, so there's no point in us fighting against each other. We're all trying to figure this stuff out together. I call this down the middle. I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm just me. I'm an independent. I'm whatever you want to call me. And thank you for listening to this. Again, please let me know down below what you think. On the way out, I would highly appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up. It would mean a lot to me. Go check out my other videos. Have a very nice week. I know COVID's going on, everything. Take a second, enjoy some stuff, watch some movies, hang out with the dog, whatever you have to do. And I will catch you, my friend, later.